Welcome to this episode of DIY3DTech.com. In this episode, I want to talk a little bit about the shape use, since this is a design talk episode. One of the things I like dealing with are basically what I refer to as organic shapes. So I like U's, S's, V's, just kind of basic primordial shapes to come up with the different type of objects. Now, I wrote a module in OpenSCAD to do this because it allows me to kind of flex the object easier than I can in Fusion or some other rote CAD package, and I think that's really cool. I'll have the OpenSCAD code for this out on the OpenSCAD site. I'll have a link down below so you guys can get it if you want. But again, more so in this episode, I want to talk about the concepts of using shape in design. So you might be asking, Mr. DIY 3D Tech, what is this? Actually, it's sort of interesting. It's a multi-purpose desk stand. So I printed it in a U configuration. I put some felt pads on the bottom. Now, one of the things I like about the felt pads over the harder rubber pads is they adjust to surface irregularities a little bit better, at least I think, than the hard rubber pads. Also, and it's very important for the use of this, that it separates it mechanically from the desk surface it will sit on. Because my idea, I spend a lot of time on conference calls, and usually they're on a speakerphone. So I've got a USB Polycom speakerphone, or I just use a speakerphone on my cell phone. So the idea is I can now set my cell phone on there just like that, and it's isolated from the desk. Because if I set it on the desk, what happens is a couple different things. It's a greater distance. When I'm typing, the noise and anything that touches the desk obviously reverberates into the phone, so I want to separate that. The next thing is I want to be able to have this so it goes under something. So I actually want to set it so my keyboard can slide somewhat underneath here, so this can be facing, because my monitor's up on a stand, and I can, type, have a quiet keyboard, so not a big issue with the clicking, but I can stop typing when I want to talk because I keep the phone on mute. So it really is a multifunctional design that's really very simplistic. As to what I like about the shape is the shape itself. So as you can see, I have the feet placed on the bottom here, so it sits on the table, and the table is at the bottom here. But I could also arrange it so it sits such as this and put something in here for a decorative vase, etc. So, or this way as a stand to place something on top of. So this is one of the things I want, and one of the reasons I'm doing the Design Talk episodes is I want to inspire you to think about things around you, just generalized shapes. They don't have to be complicated shapes, but just shapes, and how they can be used or employed in day-to-day aesthetics, functionality, activities, however you want to put it. That's what I find really neat, because again, in another episode, I talked about the S shape, which I used to design this in OpenSCAD. I'm using the U shape here. I really like working with different shapes and what I can do with those different shapes to create novel outcomes. I used a similar functionality, if you look back, to create a stand for my two buffer for my stereo. All kinds of different things, from simple shapes that create unique objects. So my goal here really is to inspire you to look at these different things and use them. Now, the other piece you can do is take and combine these shapes, because what I'm going to also do is write another module in OpenSCAD separate from this one, but using this as a basis, where I can join multiple U's together and kind of stack it and create, potentially shelves. Because wouldn't it be cool? What if we took this and then we had another one come back around like this? We had a couple of them, or we designed an interlocking mechanism, which wouldn't be hard to do, to join a bunch of these together, and you used them for books. Who reads books anymore? They're all on iPad or tablet, right? But for those that still do have books, would be a great bookshelf or something, where you could have storage. You could also arrange for mounting on the wall. Now, one of the things, I did print this out of PETG, or PETG for those younger folks who don't recall, us older folks in the day called everything by its complete name. But One of the things I'm going to do with this too, once it warms up outside, because it's frigid cold outside, is I'm going to use some of this stone spray paint I've talked about before. I'll have a link for the stone spray paint I'm speaking of down below so you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to spray this in a black finish. I don't like this shiny finish, and I don't like all the ridges that are kind of showing through where the inner supports are. And what will happen with that stone finish, it'll cover all that up and hide all those blemishes, and you won't even be able to tell this is a 3D printed product. And this is one of the things, again, is I'm doing the Biz Talk 101 series, and we're talking about products to make. This is an easy way, because you may look at this and say, you know, because if I take this to my wife and I show this to her, she's going to go, yuck, that's a 3D printed witchamajig. And she's sort of right. You know, you have to have a certain love affair for this type of look, I guess. However, if I were to paint this with that stone spray paint, you should look at it and go, oh, you must have got that at TJ Maxx or Marshall's or someplace cool like that. Because, again, it will be indistinguishable from something like that. And so, again, you know, one of the big pieces is not only the design, but also think about finishing in the end. How would you, you know, how do you want to finish it? How would it best fit in to be finished? Again, I love the stone spray paint, the faux stone. The hammered paint also in some cases works well. So these are all options for finishing your 3D printed product. Now, again, I highly recommend PETG over top of most other plastics for production use. It's very, very resilient. It's pretty tough. You know, matches sort of up there with ABS without, as far as I'm concerned, you know, a lot of the toxicity of ABS. So I really like working with it. Now, its finish, as far as I'm concerned, does lack that of PLA, but its resiliency surpasses it. So again, if I'm going to finish it with a product like the faux stone or the hammered paint, you know, I think PETG is perfectly fine. So hopefully I've given you some inspiration today. Hopefully I've given you some ideas to go forth and design with. Again, the code for this, the OpenSCAD code for this, will be out on the OpenSCAD site. It is parametric, so if you're concerned about, oh, geez, Mr. DIY 3dtech.com, I don't know how to program OpenSCAD or OpenSCAD, don't worry about it. Just download the program. You'll see at the top there's a bunch of parameters. I'll put something up in the corner so you can see. Just change the numbers, and so long as you change the numbers up there and you know, basically hit render, Bob's your uncle, this is done, and you don't have to worry about any coding. So don't get all wrapped around the axle that this is OpenSCAD. When I create something, I create it parametrically, and I try to make it as simple as possible so it can be reused without, you know, having to really understand the code behind it. I was doing the Thingiverse thing, Thingiverse customizer thing, but they use Amazon, and you know, pretty much the Thingiverse customizer has been hit or miss, and sometimes it gets real painful to use, especially on complex bends like this. It takes forever. So it's easier if you just, you know, download OpenSCAD, install it, and run the code locally, because basically outside of some sliders, it's just doing the same thing. So anyways, I think I rambled enough. Don't forget the bell button down there, which means go down there, hit it below, get the paren so you're notified when I put out great new content like this. Swag shops up in the corner, some great stuff out there to show you're a maker, and we'll see you guys in the next episode where we design something else cool. Cheers.
Please click right below and subscribe to the channel.